I didn't make any plans to talk about this. I saw this morning that the Mavs were holding a behind closed door meeting with select members of the Dallas media. I was invited. I told Nico, I'm going to need like $1.2 to $1.6 million to just be in the building. They said no. So I just moved on and went about my day, my very busy day. I didn't make plans to talk about this because truthfully, I don't give a shit at all. Like I'm so beyond done with all of this. But enough of you had reached out to me wanting me to talk about this meeting, this behind closed doors meeting. Nico Harrison and Rick Welts, select members of the Dallas media, no cameras, no microphones, just an absolutely insane thing. I have to admit, when I first heard about this, I was concerned. I was concerned for my friends in the media who are going to be in attendance for this event. I was concerned for their safety. I have to be honest with you. The first thing I thought of, 1979, Saddam Hussein held a public purge of all of his political opponents and falsely accused them of treason. I thought that was maybe the route that was going to be headed. I was worried that we were going to get an instance like this, and I was concerned about the safety of everybody involved. Now, fortunately, that appears to not be the case. From what I understand, everybody has made it out of the building safely, and there was no type of situation like this. So I'm thankful about that. But let's talk about this. And why do I say I don't give a shit? I'm so beyond done with this. Like, the trade is the dumbest trade made in the history of sports. They have clearly shown time and time again they don't understand why fans are upset. They've shown time and time again that they are completely and totally out of touch with what fandom is and what the fan experience is and what the Dallas Mavericks fan base was all about, what they wanted, what they enjoyed rooting for. Completely and totally out of touch with a decision like this, right? And yes, Nico Harrison should have already talked to the press. There should have been a big press conference in Dallas. The Dallas media should have gotten a chance to sit down and talk to him and ask questions. And I'm not talking about that bullshit press conference they did 8 hours after the trade in that Cleveland hotel room, right? It's been made a big deal. Mark Stein has talked about this, that it's very bizarre and not normal for a GM to not be involved and take questions for an introductory press conference, which is what happened, right? The trades happened. The trade deadline happened. The Mavericks were on a big road trip. They come home after the trade deadline. They hold an introductory press conference at the American Airlines Center. AD, Kayla Martin, Max Christie. Nico Harrison's not involved. He's not there. Bizarre, right? This is the first time that he has talked to the media since then. Just insane that this is 2 months later and this is what's happening. So I do think he should have spoken there, but I'm of the belief, me personally, I don't really give a shit what Nico says. I don't. There's nothing that could be said, in my opinion. Some people want him to apologize. He's not going to fucking apologize. That's not happening. Okay, he's not saying sorry. That's not something that's going to happen. And I'll be honest with you, right? I'm somebody who, yes, I'm still a fan of this team, right? That's just the way that I am. That's just the way that I operate. I've lived in Dallas for pretty much my entire life. I've rooted for the Dallas Mavericks my entire life. It's difficult to rip that away. I have legitimate life memories, right? But I've tied memories of the Dallas Mavericks with real life events of mine. That's just a connection that's very, very deep. And it got cut into a little bit by this trade, but it still runs deep. I don't want the GM of my team publicly apologizing about a trade 2 months later. That's not what I want, personally. Okay, and I know if you're somebody who, I don't give a fuck about the Mavs anymore, I'm walking away, I need Nico Harrison to apologize to me, that's completely fine. But I don't want Nico Harrison to apologize, right? And that's why I say I don't really give a shit what he says, because what can he say, in my opinion, that's going to make me be like, okay, cool, yeah, no, I actually get it now, right? I actually understand. You're just going to get PR answers, and you're going to get the same regurgitated answers that we've heard now for months, and that's pretty much what was the gist I got from this meeting. Tim Cato, who, I put blood, sweat, and tears with Tim Cato on the basketball court, and I would never trade that guy, ever. That's the big disconnect. But I highly recommend you guys go listen to the DLLS show that they did today. Tim Cato was in attendance. He said that Nico said defense wins championships at least 6 separate times, I think is what he said in the podcast, in reference to, why they made this trade. Defense wins championships. Defense wins championships. Another key point that was made was somebody asked if Nico has an obligation to the fans, that if he owes the fans something, if he took that into account at all. And Nico said, I don't owe the fans anything. I owe everything to the Dallas Mavericks. I try to make the Dallas Mavericks better. I owe the fans nothing. Which, on one hand, I don't mind a general manager thinking. You got to be cutthroat, right? You do have to be cutthroat in this business. But the trade is so dumb. Like, it's just, it all falls apart because it's like, you owe the fans nothing. You're trying to make the team better. You made the team actively much worse, not just now, but for the future. So it's an answer that falls flat because of that. Right now, if we're talking about, hey, they traded they traded Dwight Powell to get under the contract. And hey, Dwight Powell's been here for so long, and they needed to trade him for contract reasons. And fans are like, oh, man, that sucks that Dwight Powell's gone. And he goes like, hey, man, look, we don't know. Like, we're just trying to make the team better. We don't owe it to you guys to hold on to Dwight Powell. Okay, that's a different thing. But this is just beyond that, right? Another insane thing that came out from this was Rick Welts, who hasn't even been here that long. I mean, he's just been caught up in this PR circus. Was here, like, what, days before the trade? I don't even remember. But anyways, he, in this meeting, apparently compared the Luka trade to when Golden State traded Monte Ellis. I repeat, he compared this trade and how the fan base has responded to it to the Golden State Warriors trading Monte Ellis when he was there. Buddy, please come to grips with reality. Please come to grips with reality. Please. And that's the problem. I don't think any of you have come to grips with reality. I don't think any of you are living in reality, actually. And I'm not specifically talking about Rick Welts or whatever, but this whole saga, this whole event report, defense wins championships was a phrase that was used most often at Nico Harrison's private meeting today with the media. Again, this is what's going to be echoed. So why did they do this today? This is the dumbest thing about all of this. This behind closed doors meeting with the media. Horrible optics, obviously, especially considering you haven't spoken to the media in a public way since the trade and that bullshit press conference 8 hours after the trade at like 7 a.m. in Cleveland, right? Nobody was awake. No one was there. Okay, fine. This being the first time we talked to media, horrible optics in my opinion, but also, why the fuck are you doing it one day before your team plays in a play-in game? That to me makes no sense. Why are you like, this is going to be, surely they know that this is going to be a huge deal, that this is going to be talked about ad nauseum by anyone who talks about the Mavericks, that this is going to go very viral on Twitter, that national media people are going to hone in on this and point at you and laugh at you for a decision like this. And obviously that's going to bleed over to the players. Why the fuck would you do this right now? I have to ask, and I think what the answer is they probably expect to get their ass kicked against Sacramento, and they know, hey, you're going to have to do exit interviews. You're going to have to talk to the press. Let's get behind it now. And so you can go out there and do this little bullshit behind closed doors thing. And so you can say, I already talked to you guys about this. Like, let's ask questions about, Spencer Dinwiddie's role in the team next year. Let's ask about Brandon Williams' role in the team next year. I already talked to you guys about the Luka trade. I don't want to talk about it again. Like, that's why they did it, right? That's why they did it now, because they expect to lose in the coming days. And the season will be over. And then he will have to do a public sit down with the media, a public press conference with the media. And he's going to be asked those questions. And he's probably going to say, no, I already talked to you guys about this. I already told you guys. I already told you guys a few days ago. Why are you asking me again? That's what they're doing. Incredibly out of touch, incredibly stupid. Here's some more quotes from it. There's no regrets on the trade, Harrison said during a roundtable discussion. Part of it is doing the best thing for the Mavs. Harrison said he believes the team post-trade, which was intended to be on the floor before all of the injuries, is a championship team. He added that once everyone's at full strength, the team will have one of the strongest front lines in the NBA. Harrison said every trade he's done has been met with scrutiny. Since Doncic's trade, fans have shared their outrage online, outside and inside the team's home arena, American Airlines Center, holding signs and shouting "Fire Nico." Harrison believes that Doncic is extremely talented, but doubled down in saying the trade was the best decision going forward. Oh, that was also another thing Cato said on DLS podcast, was that it does sound like this. There's probably some personal things there, obviously, but this was like, they believe AD helps them out so much defensively that this is like a truthful, like a real life basketball decision that they made. That they thought that this, beyond, maybe conspiracies that, they hated each other, they didn't get along. Like, it just seems like basketball wise, they think that this actually is the best way moving forward for them, which obviously is the dumbest shit imaginable. But I just go back to everything that's happened recently and why I don't care much and why I don't give a fuck about, like, I really don't care about what Nico says at this point, because I know it's going to be PR, hand-fisted answers. He's not going to give us anything of importance. He's not going to say sorry. Like, that's insane to think that that's going to happen, at least now, right? Why I don't care is, like, this type of stuff, the horrible PR optics, it all just feels so corporate. And that's the thing that stings the most for me about all of this, especially over the past couple of months, is this team just feels like a business now. That's it. There's no sort of personal connection anymore. Of course, the Mavericks, I do think we're lucky. And I told you guys years ago when Cuban was looking to sell the team, I was like, be careful what you wish for when you ask for a new owner. Cuban was perfectly fine as an owner. Were we annoyed with maybe how hands-on he was in terms of, the transactions and player personnel and stuff like that? Absolutely, right? But as just in terms of being an owner, be careful what you wish for, because you could do way worse than Mark Cuban. Way worse. And I think the Mavericks have, unfortunately, found themselves in one of the worst ownership positions you can find yourself. I think the absolute worst is being owned by a team, an ownership group that doesn't care and doesn't have money. Like there's those teams out there. It's more prevalent in like baseball and stuff. But you now have an ownership group that I don't think gives a flying fuck. They don't. That's clear as day to me. They do not care. They do not care about basketball. They do not care about the Dallas Mavericks. They don't really care about winning basketball games. I mean, if that happens, great. But this is a business to them through and through. And now they operate like it's a business. And that's it. There's no personal fan connection anymore. That's out the window. There's no, hey, reach out to me on Twitter, reach out to me on DM, reach out to me through email. I've emailed Mark Cuban before. Reach out to me via email. I'll respond. Like, we have this connection with the fans. We may not agree on things, but whatever. We have this connection with the fans. Is how we operate. That's completely gone and out the window. This is a business through and through. You can tell Dumont's been to how many games? How many games has Dumont been to? Barely any. Mario Madison's been to, I think, 2 was the number that I saw. Barely at any games. It refers to the finals as the championship games, whatever. Maybe he misspoke there. I don't want to go too hard on that, but didn't bring up Dirk's name whenever they listed all the all-time greats. Like, it's clear to me that they do not care about basketball. That's very, very clear to me. This was 100% always for the Dumonts about putting themselves in more of a position of power in the state of Texas by owning one of the biggest sports franchises in the state to help push gambling legalization forward. That was always the case to me. And it won't happen during this Texas legislative session in 2025, but it will probably happen in 2027. And just when they legalize gambling, not everyone can just go build a casino. Not everyone can just go and build a casino, right? You have to have a license to do that. And by owning one of the biggest teams in the state, by already having experience building casinos and owning casinos in Las Vegas, they will be in prime position to get a gambling license in the state in Dallas and build a ginormous casino resort. That's what they want to do, right? I don't give a shit if they say they don't want to do it anymore. That's absolutely what they want to do. And that's it for them. This is a power play. Owning this team that's what it is. They don't care about anything else. They have given all of the power to Nico Harrison. Now it's Nico Harrison's little plaything. I don't see eye to eye with Luka Doncic. That's not the type of basketball I like. Anthony Davis is my guy. Let's make the trade. Let's do it. I've thought about it for a while. We've known that they thought about this trade for a while. Let's go and do that. And the owners are like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really care. Do whatever you want, man. It's literally like a business, a corporation. The higher-ups are just delegating all of this shit to other guys. I don't want to be involved in who's doing what on the team. So, Nico Harrison, you take care of it. You control it. I'm hands off. I'm just here to make money. That's it. And now this happened, and it's PR crisis after PR crisis after PR crisis. They're handling it. It's just like, they're making the wrong move every step of the way. And I don't know who's to blame for this. I don't know who thought this would be a good idea. I mean, this is just insane. This is like some fascist dictator shit. You know what I mean? Like a behind closed doors meeting with with select members of the media, no cameras, no audio, is like some fascist dictator shit. It makes no sense to me. It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's incredibly out of touch, and it is a slap in the face to your fan base. Which, again, they've done time and time again. Because I don't think they really care. It's either two things. It's one, they are completely and totally so far out of touch, some of the most out of touch individuals in the country, right? Or they don't care. Neither is good. Neither makes you feel good. Neither gives you hope moving forward. But it's one of those two. It's one of those two. Oh, man. It's a bad situation, man. And again, I try to avoid talking about this stuff. I didn't want to talk about this stuff. Another reason why I want to avoid talking about this stuff so much is it's just like, I feel bad, man. I talk to, I have friends who are like media members for the Mavericks organization. I've talked to and have friends people who work in the organization, not in like a front office capacity, but work for the organization. And this shit sucks for them. They're having a bad time. They're having a very bad time, right? I know people who work for the social media team. They're having a bad time. And it makes me feel worse that every step of the way, every time something like this happens, or every time, another statement or something else is made by Nico or the Dumonts or even Cuban, that it feels like, because there's not really a forward-facing person who's bearing the brunt of this. It's like the employees for the team. It's the players themselves. That's what's annoying to me. That's what really pisses me off. Like Paige Beckers goes #1 overall last night. Congratulations. Finally, we get something good. And the Mavs sent out this tweet, and I thought what the fuck is wrong with this tweet, right? What's wrong with this tweet? You look at the replies, and they're unhinged. They're absolutely insane. How mad people got about this tweet right here. And I know everyone's mad about the trade, and everyone's going to be mad about AD, but listen, what's wrong with this? Seriously. If I were AD, I want out. Truth be told. If I were AD, I want out immediately. If I were Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, and I'm representing AD, dude, this situation is so disastrous. And as your agent, I cannot in good faith let you just waste away here without at least coming to you and saying, dude, let's try to get you somewhere else. You're still one of the top 10 players in the sport. Let's try to get you somewhere else and get you out of here. Because this whole situation is a shit show and a disaster. These guys are probably on their way to Sacramento right now. And the biggest story online, or at least in the sports world, is that the Mavericks held a behind closed doors meeting about this trade, about how shitty it was, because they're so scared to do it publicly. They're so scared of talking in front of like the press in a press conference that they have to do a behind closed doors meeting with no cameras, no microphones. That way they can prep the media for when they do their exit interviews, so they can say, guys, I already talked to you guys about this. I don't want to go any further into it. Like, AD is going to have to play incredibly well over the next 2 games, assuming the Mavs get 2 games, right? Maybe even 1 game, for them to even have a chance to make the playoffs. And now, mentally, he definitely knows what's going on. He knows that, hey, they're having to do another behind closed doors thing to try their hardest to try and justify the trade they made for me. Like, it's just the dumbest shit. Why are you doing this right now? That's the dumbest part about this to me. Why is this happening now? Why is this happening 1 day before the play-in tournament starts? God, this team is just making wrong move after wrong move. And again, it's not anyone's fault inside the organization outside of the ownership group, who's to blame the most here. Make no mistake about it. I know everyone's mad about Nico. The ownership group is to blame the most, period. Anytime that bad things happen with the team, I will always immediately go to the ownership group, because you own the team. How did you allow things to get this bad? How, as an owner, do you let your GM trade Luka Doncic for the return that you got, 1? And then 2, how do you let a PR crisis spin this badly out of control? That's your fault as an owner. That's your fault. And I know you don't give a shit. I know you don't care. You don't care. This is like a play. This isn't even a play thing. For owners, it's like usually a couple of things. 1, they inherit a team from their family, and that could go a bunch of different directions, right? But they either inherit the team from a family, or they're like a fan. They grew up a fan, and hey, I'm a tech billionaire now. I'm going to buy a team and own a team. This has always been a dream of mine. Okay, that can go a lot of different directions as well. Think about Matt Ishbia, destructive Matt. Or think about Cuban, right? It can go well. Or it's like a guy, I got a lot of money. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? Oh, let me get a sports team and do a little play thing. But also, I have a huge ego, and I want it to be successful. So I'm going to do all of the different things I need to do to make sure this team's successful. And whether I succeed or not, that's to be determined. But that's what I want to do. And then you have the Dumonts who are like, I don't give a like. I just buy teams like a bargaining chip for political gain for the Texas State legislature sessions. That's what has happened. And so I blame them the most. Absolutely. Is Nico to blame for making this disaster trade? Absolutely. But I blame the ownership group the most. Period. End of discussion. They have took the Dallas Mavericks and turned them into a business, a bargaining chip, and that's that. They don't care about what happens, because how could you? If you cared about what's happened, this trade doesn't happen under your watch. And I'm dubious of Cuban claiming this wouldn't happen under him. I don't think they would have traded him, but I'm dubious about some of those claims. I'm dubious Cuban didn't know. I'll tell you right now, I do not believe Cuban didn't know this was going to happen. I don't believe that him whatsoever, because I've heard from people I trust that this was a known thing that they were not going to offer Luka a max contract extension for a long time while the team was being sold even. So I'm just so fed up with all of this. It's why I didn't want to talk about it. I say that I've rambled for 20 minutes. It's why I don't want to talk about this stuff because there's nothing Nico can say that makes me be like, oh, okay. All right. We're good. We're good. Thank God you said that to the press. There's nothing he can say realistically to me. I feel badly for all the people who work for the organization in some capacity because they're getting the most out of this. I feel bad for the players, right? Because they just go out there and try and take care of business. I mean, they're paid professionals. They go out there and try to do the best job that they can, and they've been struggling lately, sure, but they're like in one of the messiest situations we've ever seen a team be in. I feel badly for the fans, obviously. And I hate talking about this shit. I really do. And I know it's hypocritical because I talk about it a lot, but how can you not talk about it? You know, how can you not? So anyways, the Dallas Mavericks. I really thought he was going to pull some Saddam Hussein shit. I really did.